School kids come early.
That's right.
Well,
I
that
do
And I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's nice to see you all again. Happy National Pollinator Week and happy solstice. Today is the longest day and possibly one of the hottest days. Okay, first item of business for our June Environmental Advisory Board meeting is approval of the May 2024 minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, Mr. Jensen, is there a second?
Oh.
Jason, okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, abstaining?
I will abstain. I was not present.
Okay,
Thank you.
Katie abstaining. All right, next item, announcements from town staff.
I have a couple for you. This month we turned in the town's update for the hazard mitigation plan, our portion of the Wake County plan. And we should be getting feedback back by the end of the month, hopefully, possibly the first part of July. Once we get some feedback, we'll make some updates and that'll go to FEMA for review and approval. Once it's ready to be brought before Town Council and Planning Board, I'll also bring it to you guys to give you an FYI update as well, and the kind of things that we've been working on. The town's also been working on the Western Big Branch area plan. So that's from kind of the curve of 540 on the southwestern side west, bounded to the north by Old One and to the south by New One. And that draft will be available in mid-July on the town's website. And then we also have a new transit prioritization study underway that just started off. I will be sending you guys links for both of those things so that you can take a look at them if you'd like. That's all that I have at the moment, though.
Great, thank you, Shelley. All right. The next item is a letter of support for the town of Apex Seaside. So what that was the town's local government energy program, Communities Sparking Investment in Transformative Energy. Shelley contacted me and there was a tight turnaround on it, asking for my signature as chair of the board, and so we can't vote like by email, and because it was such a quick turnaround time, it did meet our goals for renewable energy, so I did go ahead and sign that on behalf of us. I do not intend to make that like standard operating procedure. If it hadn't been so tight, I would have told you all and opened it up for discussion or objections and that sort of thing. With that in mind, does anybody want to voice their objection now at this point in time about it? And do you feel like that was consistent with our goals?
Can you tell us the full name again of what the site part stands for?
Communities Sparking Investment in Transformative Energy.
Thank you.
C-site with an S.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do y'all have any questions about that Shelley might be able to answer?
So it was sent to me by the town's budget department. We were using that letter as a piece of support for the town to apply for some additional electric vehicle charging stations, or I'm sorry, this one was actually for the design and installation of solar panels on the town's facilities. And because that was something that the grant suggested, was that if you had any boards or community groups that would be in favor of it, to include information from them. So, and unfortunately I got a 48-hour turnaround, so when I got it to Suzanne, it was something more like a 36-hour turnaround, and it was about 3 weeks until I could get to you guys, so yeah.
So that's great. Hopefully get some money.
How big is the grant?
Shelley, does this have anything to do with the Inflation Reduction Act? I don't think it does.
I think it's one of the programs under that, actually.
Under that,
We're
okay.
applying for grant money from that. I don't
Yeah.
have a ton of the details though, because it all went through the budget department.
Okay, so it is, and, you know, like, yeah, it seems like the Inflation Reduction Act, while it's a good thing and the town can get 30% of the cost, but you got a lot of hoops that are pretty high and small diameter to jump through. So it's anything we can do to push that would be good.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have one rezoning case, the Oliver property. Mr. Norton.
Hey, Will, give me just a second.
All right, take all the time you need.
I'm struggling.
I'll just introduce myself. My name is Will Norton. I work for Jones and Knosson Engineering. We're located in downtown Apex at 221 North Salem Street. Happy to be here tonight to present this, and thank you, Shelley, for coordinating these conditions.
You are welcome. Okay, go right ahead.
All right. So the rezoning case is for a low-density residential use containing 3 parcels out off of Hemi Olive Road, located across the street from the Retreat at Friendship Station and Mimiwara, to give you a point of reference. The existing use is single-family homes, and there's a horse riding arena located there. There's one stream on site that is buffered, and yeah, in general, it's you know, mostly cleared except for one back corner that's pretty heavily wooded. And then just to give you some context, the third parcel involved is going to be a piece of a parcel that we would be taking to add into this. So there would be a annexation and rezoning line as part of this as well. Shelley has a list of the conditions. I'm not sure if y'all got the ones that we are proposing, but we have various ones that are here that we're offering, and would be open to discussion for what you guys would recommend, and other things that we could implement into this that you see fit. So thank you.
There's just basically just one stream.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's just one stream, and the origin point is actually on the site. So it's a 50-foot buffer on it. We won't be impacting that stream with a crossing or anything. The only thing that would more than likely be done in the riparian buffer area is SCM grading. So this site is kind of mainly determined by sewer availability. So there's only a portion that can sewer back to where we can get to with it. So that's the main driving force with this. And so development won't extend to that area where the stream is. Lots would back up to it, but there won't be any real development on the opposite side. We may put a sewer easement on the opposite side of the stream in order for in the future not to have the adjacent parcel to the east have to come back and get any easements on this property. So that would probably be a part of it, but that would just be an easement dedication. There wouldn't be any need for any disturbance on that side.
But if the sewer line did go through, then you would clear at that point.
Yeah. If that parcel ever developed or wanted to extend sewer up, they'd have a long way to go. And right now, there's no pump station available for that side for development. So the likelihood of that happening anytime soon is very slim because there's nowhere for it to go. It's planned in the future for a pump station, but for right now, it would just be an easement dedicated for the sewer, and then also probably a temporary construction easement that would remain there until they built the sewer line, just so they would have the.
How wide would that be?
Depends on depth that we wouldn't really go through that whole engineering process, but it would probably just be a 20-foot sewer easement. I don't think it would need to be, so sewer easements width is dependent upon how deep the sewer is. So it would be shallow there. So it would probably just be a 20-foot permanent public easement, and then you'd probably have 10 feet on either side for temporary construction that would
Where there would
Go.
also be clearing, so you're talking like 30 to 50 feet?
probably 40 feet that they would have to work in, but the only permanent cleared would be 20 feet in that easement. But again, that's not in the buffer, that's on the other side of the buffer. So it's in the northeast corner of that. So
And would this development require RCA?
it would, yeah. So we're proposing to be stage graded with this rezoning case. So there would be a 30% RCA requirement for the development.
And so how many acres would that be?
The overall acreage is about 15.8 on the latest boundary that I did. So roughly 4.9, I think, 4.8, something like that.
And so are you planning,
So all that area up there would mostly be RCA that is around that. And then buffers, landscape buffers around, you have a 30-foot thoroughfare buffer off of Hume Olive Road as well. So across the street is the multi-use path that came in. And so our 30-foot buffer would just be landscaping for the most part and whatever grading needed to happen from the road improvements.
so as far as riparian buffer impacts, you're talking about the SCM potentially in the riparian buffer and then potentially a portion of this easement as well?
So the sewer line wouldn't be in the easement if part of the main line would never be in the buffer, but the easement that we dedicated would potentially clip it.
Construction limits could extend.
It could, yeah. I'm not 100% sure. That would be a public utilities question on where exactly they want that easement placed, because it does serve the natural draw, and that's just a town UDO requirement. So.
And so those other trees on the western side, they do look like they are intentionally placed around stream features, but those came out not as streams?
They're not buffered streams, no, or core waters of the U.S. They're not, no.
Jurisdictional streams.
Correct. So so the western part is you can kind of see a fence line running north to south next to the riding rink, which is just the big dirt area. But that kind of constitutes where that existing property line is. That homeowner is on the opposite side of where the new boundary is proposed, running north-south. Their home would remain, and then the reason that we put the line there is to kind of leave the tree line that's there along that draw, so that would be kind of within the buffer along that property line. So most of those trees would remain where the lots back up to it.
Okay, so you intend for the RCA then to go up in that northeast corner mostly?
Mostly, yeah, the large majority would be in that northeast corner. This being stage graded, we wouldn't propose the limits of disturbance really more than likely go into that section in the first place, because like I said, this is kind of driven by sewer. So, and that's, where the stream is kind of the lowest part. So that's not really a viable area for development. The lots won't really sewer back that way. So, yeah, for the most part, that canopy will remain in that area.
Yeah, there is sort of a decent drop off there in that northeast area in there.
Yes, sir.
And so did I see on your proposed list that was the 25-year storm event?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how many pet waste stations? So it's 42 homes that were on the drawing that we received. Is that about right?
Or is that just the maximum you think you?
That, so the maximum maximum would be, I guess, roughly 47, I think, something like that. But the viability is just not there. You're probably looking 41, 42, correct?
I'd like to propose a second pet waste station, especially if it's sort of a U-shaped subdivision, because
Sure,
I'm thinking
yeah.
if I started off walking my dog on one end, it'd be nice to have one on my end as well as the other end.
Yeah, I think that would be no issue, to add a second waste station. This will have, you know, all the required, residential use, UDO things such as, like mail kiosk areas and obviously the RCA involved. So, the pond where it's planned to be will be behind lots. So there'll be access back there. But in general, it's not really, it won't be located close to any roadway infrastructure, just because of the natural layout and the topography out here. But so I know sometimes they're located in that general area, but that'll be kind of set back behind lots more than likely. So just to give you an idea, but yeah, that's no problem as far as
I
adding
mean,
a second one.
if you're designing it and you think, oh, people may walk our dogs there, then I would encourage you to consider more
Yeah,
than two.
yeah.
This is just-
There's just no real way to get back there,
Yeah.
but the signage and whatnot will still remain as far as that goes, with the fertilizers and whatnot. So, but yeah, a second pet waste station is no problem at all.
I didn't have a chance to see the site plan. Was there a amenity or rec site associated with this?
There's not. We do have kind of a one location where kind of a common area sort of deal where talks of some sort of amenity of sorts would be located in just a kind of a centralized area, probably where the mail kiosk would be located too. But
Where the what would be located?
probably just centrally to, so I don't know if y'all have the layout that was submitted with the neighborhood meeting. I guess that's probably what you're referring to, but there's one kind of corner lot on that layout where the road kind of turns, and then there's just kind of a dead area where there's kind of a corner section close to the cul-de-sac street that comes down.
I'm getting there. I think it's like page 26.
Yeah. Okay, so it actually isn't shown here, but the large lot, whenever the road, number 39, part of that, there's just not enough depth, and so a piece of that would probably get turned into some sort of area for HOA common area. It's just odd shaped, so and the way it has the
About
layout.
the area between the proposed lots 8 and 9,
Yeah, so this was done before we got the actual buffer call. So that portion of stream is not actually a stream. The stream is only the main portion extended to the southeast, I guess. So that little piece is not actually a buffered stream. It's all located inside the 50-foot buffer. So so we, in our latest kind of sketch that we've done, the lots just kind of continue through that area and gave them some more width and depth in order to provide some more space on the lots for natural area. Because like I said, that kind of is where that tree canopy mostly kind of cuts off right there, kind of follows the shape of that road in general. So that's our goal, is to maintain as much on those lots as possible, and that's why it's kind of stage graded, so that we can just grade the infrastructure for the roads, and then those homes would be able to grade what's necessary just for their home site.
I noticed there's going to be a park across the street.
Yeah.
Is that fields or?
It's a future park area that Apex owns.
They
Not
own,
planned yet.
Right.
It's not funded either. We own the land, but we haven't started the design process for that yet.
And at some point it will be a park.
It will be.
at some point. Yeah.
Are you, and so the road on the eastern side, that is gonna line up with the road across the street as shown here?
Poppy Field.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, it is just a continuation of field poppy.
And so are you all gonna do anything to facilitate people being able to safely cross the street to potentially walk to the park?
So transportation has not looked at that yet. It is something that I kind of proactively asked about because out here we do have Friendship schools and whatnot relatively close, and so there is a mid-block crossing there with high-vis stuff, but there will be some transportation elements to this as far as turn lanes go. I don't know if they want people crossing here or not as far as walk pedestrian traffic going across. There is that 10-foot multi-use path that runs on the opposite side. So I haven't heard from Serge or Russell as far as what they are looking for there as far as pedestrian access crossing Hume. It's obviously a well-traveled road,
And so there's not gonna be a multi-use path on your side, it's only on the other side?
correct. Yeah, it would only be on the
So that would
On the
be an
retreat
amenity
features.
people would probably try and access crossings or not.
that's well that
Eventually they will, yeah.
yeah.
There will be a sidewalk on the north side.
Right, we do have a 5-foot sidewalk that will run the continuous length of the frontage there, but as far as a crossing, because of the nature of Hume, it would have to be a mid-block, high visibility sort of crossing, but I don't know if that is going to be instituted here or not.
When Will says mid-block, he's referencing not at the intersection. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
'Cause I know there was one or two along Hume Olive already that were installed and then removed because they were at intersections and got changed, so.
Hume gets a lot of traffic, not just during the schools. I know you guys all know that, but it also has some odd curves and stuff in it that make sight distance problematic, especially for pedestrians. So it's one of the roads that our transportation folks look very closely at before they designate where crosswalks and things go. I completely understand that people are going to want to use it, but we want to try to locate those crosswalks as well as we can for safety. And I would be hesitant about agreeing to anything if I were the client at this point, just because it's probably going to change once transportation makes suggestions.
And it's a DOT maintained road as well.
Right, so there's a lot of parties involved as far as that goes, but yeah.
And it's a 45-mile-an-hour road?
Correct.
Oh, wow, okay.
Is it only 45?
It's 45 all the way through there. Yeah.
Right through there it is, yeah.
There's a couple of DOT roads in that area that are 55,
55.
and that's why I wasn't sure
Yeah.
what you guys have done.
Any other thoughts or questions?
Have you thought about installing conduit to better enable solar panels?
Yes, sir. So I think that's one that, yeah, we are,
I did that on that one.
Ah, okay.
yep.
Sorry, I did not get
So-
this one to you guys early enough.
Okay.
We'll have the pre-wiring condition in there, or pre-conduit.
Is there anything underneath 9?
Yes. I never know how fast people read.
And then along a similar line to that, the garage outlet, we'd commit to that as well.
The buffer along the Olive Road. I only brought my one glasses. Along the frontage road, is that a buffer or what is the?
It's a thoroughfare, along Hume Olive Road, the 30-foot thoroughfare buffer. This type E thoroughfare buffer,
No, for residential, it's a type B.
type B.
Type B. And
That's
related to a type A.
That's in the transportation, 2045 transportation plan as far as how they designate so it's 110 foot right of way. So we're dedicating 25 feet of additional right of way and then a 30-foot buffer on top of that.
Which is a B buffer in the UDO, but would you commit to an A buffer?
It's definitely something I could talk about with the developer. The developer is JBI Building and Development, which some of you may be familiar with, but so it's definitely something I could reach out to Joey and discuss with him. If I had to guess, he would probably be okay with it, but with him, he's out of town tonight, so it's not something I could commit to today as far as increasing landscaping on that. There's not any real vegetation out there right now, so it would all be supplementally landscaped for the most part. So
I was involved with the B buffer aspect, and one of the arguments was, instead of an A, not to go to an A, was that if there was trees there and stuff like that, we might have to end up taking them out to make an A buffer. But
Right.
if there's no trees there at this point, then I would think an A buffer would be a possibility.
yeah, I'll consult with our landscape architect as well, just to run that by her as well. But again, without him being here, I don't think I could commit to adding that into the rezoning currently, but something I can definitely ask him about,
Okay.
Mr. Jensen. Yeah.
Do you want to have them add it to the list?
I would like to add it to the list as a
Okay, and then
recommendation.
you
Sure.
all can carry it forward.
Absolutely.
I have one more if I could add it.
Sure.
On solar. I wrote it out and I will give it to Shelley. A solar PV system of at least 3.5 kilowatts shall be installed on at least 8 of the homes within the development. And then it's the standard stuff. All solar installations required by this condition shall be completed under the construction under construction prior to 90% of the building permits being issued for the development. It also goes on to say that the lots on which these homes are located shall be identified on the master subdivision plat. I don't mind if that part is not in there in terms of identification, because I don't know how you do that. I think
That has
that,
been a tricky problem in the past, because it does, if it's identified on the plat, and something has to change later on, like say one person doesn't want solar and
Yeah.
somebody across the street does, then we have to re-record the plat, which
Yes.
can be both time consuming and honestly a pain for any new property owners. I don't know if that is our standard operating procedure right now. It's been a little while since I did a plat that had that on there. But what I can tell you is, if you're fine with it not being included, I can evaluate that with my supervisor in the planning department. And if she says we don't want it anymore, I can take that off the recommendation if you'd like.
I personally agree with that, because really you're trying to sell it to homeowners that might come in, and who knows who's going to do it. I mean, you can pick out lots that make sense to have it, but it depends on who buys those lots. So I would strike, I'm going to strike that, and I'll give you this to you
Thank you, sir.
from that, because I don't think it should be in there. I agree with you. Is there going to be a model home in this construction?
I don't believe so. I think these are planned to be custom to semi-custom, not production-built homes. So I wouldn't anticipate that.
Okay, I did have a model home thing, but I will drop that. It doesn't make sense if there's no model home anyhow. Okay. So that, I'd recommend that first part that I read, if that's okay with everybody.
Well, you can't see what she's written out, can you?
So
Pardon me?
You can't see what Shelley has written, can you?
I was trying to type the numbers portion of that.
I think
So
you got it.
Is it 3.5 kilowatts on at least
I
8
use
homes?
3.5 kilowatts. It's,
Thanks, sir. I will make sure to add the rest of this. I just wanted to
Yep.
get something on the screen.
I understand. Okay.
Thank you.
Can we go back up to the lighting, and John, can you look at the lighting part? I think minimum and maximum might be,
Well, I think the UDO will take care of any
fair enough.
distinction on whether
enough.
that's compliant or not.
Okay.
Well, so this one is, you're right, Katie. Maximum would mean that it would be no bluer
Right.
than 3,000. But this language would require that it be between 3,000 and 3,500
Okay.
instead of saying that they want to cap it at 3,000. So if you guys want to suggest they swap that out for maximum, that would typically be more in line with what you've recommended in the past.
Where is that lighting referencing, on the homes or the entry monument, or what's it?
That's another good point. We don't typically require that on single-family homes.
Because I say you can't.
But if you want to have it for signage and common area, then you're welcome to do that. I can amend the condition if you'd like.
At this point, that's all that it would apply to, right?
Typically,
Common area and
The
engine.
way the development's structured so far.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
All right. Any
We'll move on. I'm waiting for her to finish.
Done.
Okay. I'm seeing number 8, but if it's no single species of vegetation shall constitute more than 20% of the plant material, blah, blah, blah. If you go down, there's also another one about where the HOA will allow clover
Lawns.
to be planted, right? Doesn't that contradict each other? Because if you're having a total clover lawn or a total single grass lawn, you're going to have 100%.
So we have not typically applied that to lawns of any kind, just
Okay.
because that's more, most of these conditions typically apply to the stuff that the developer puts in although lawns are one of those. It's a good point.
Non-lawn plants that.
I mean,
they put in.
I would love it to have more, species in the lawn. We could leave it as that, but I just pointing
that's a
that
good point. I
out.
hadn't thought about that.
That is an excellent.
I agree with you, especially if my HOA agrees.
And the other thing is the installation. No, never mind. Strike that last part.
Yeah, I guess that's just based on interpretation of plant material.
Yeah, that is a
I
good.
think we typically considered that to apply to required landscaping.
Yeah.
So RCA, buffers, and sometimes the trees and shrubs.
Yeah, I don't
We
think
could
Put
amend
a
it to
excluding lawns or
non-lawn.
something like
So
that.
you can't,
I'm sorry?
You could put in excluding lawns and that 20% and the number 8.
Right, yeah.
That would
Okay.
fix it. Or
Yeah, I guess part of that would also be the warm season grasses element that's in there as well. So I think that'll help cover that part as well.
I saw that now.
Any further questions or comments for Mr. Norton? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to go with these suggested conditions?
I will so move.
Okay, Katie? Is there
I
a
second.
Oh. John, second, okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so we've got a couple new business items. So I asked that, these are on the agenda because they're sort of initiatives that are developing organically. And I thought it might be a good idea that we as a group agreed to move them forward and spend some time on them. So the first one is Njeri. Would you like to take the floor?
Sure. So this was kind of stemmed from our conversation that we had at the last meeting about potentially having a community garden Apex. But initially, I think we have to figure out if there's a will or engagement within the community to actually have something like this. And there was a suggestion about polling town residents to see on social media to see if there was an interest. So kind of wanted just to have a discussion if how we would want to do that, what type of questions, and then also if we did move forward with that, where would the funding come from? Would we do from the council? Would it be from Parks and Recs? Like how, I guess the basis of how we get started with that once, if we get approval to move forward with the community garden.
So do we as a board feel that this fits, and I'm gonna play the devil's advocate, fits our mission and would be a good thing to pursue and potentially propose? Or what do you all think?
I don't think there's a question that it fits the mission.
Okay.
Part of the mission, right, is engaging with the community
Mm-hmm.
and bringing forward citizen ideas.
Yeah, and this was an idea that was brought to us at several now festivals that we have been at, and it would be, I think, open space. I think that's part of this is sort of, I think, if we did take this on, what does the space look like? You know, is it a sort of a farm space? Is it to grow herbs? Is it to sort of address maybe food insecurities?
I was hoping that in doing so, we could also dedicate some of that land to vegetables that we could donate to, you know, food banks, so that the community helps with like a purpose in doing.
I think the first part of this right here would be honestly finding where we can obtain the property. Because if we can't find a place to obtain the property, then some of this is going to be kind of voided anyway. And then find out who has the property and who's willing to work with us on it.
Wouldn't the likely locations either be the Apex Community Park or the Apex Nature Park?
I don't know if there's.
I don't know if there's any,
I don't know about the community park, or I'm sorry,
which,
the community park is a possibility. The nature park has fairly limited available space. Pleasant Park might have some space. Staff could do an evaluation of what land we have available that the town
There's a
owns.
big piece that we just,
There
did
is
rezoning
the
on
Olive
not too
Farm
long
Park,
ago.
the future one, that might be an option. I do want to point out there are a couple of community gardens in town already. Not saying that we couldn't use another one, just pointing it out. There's one on the very end of Tingen where it abuts 540. And then I actually park down there and eat my lunch regularly. It's quiet.
Look over the bypass.
Nice and, well, actually, there's all those trees and it's very quiet back
good to
there.
know.
Is that one very well attended?
It does have a pretty decent populace out there. I don't tend to see a ton of people because I'm in the middle of the day, but it is a very well tended garden.
And how does it work?
there's-
Do people have different plots?
That's what it seems to be. I could pull some information together and send it to everyone.
Checks for it.
Maybe it exists and people just don't know about it.
And then we do have another one off of, you know what, I'm just gonna pull up.
Who
the map.
manages that?
I think that's the YMCA,
Tangent is
but I could be wrong.
Apex Methodist Church, a simple gift.
Apex Methodist Church does have some plots.
Out at the
There's
detention.
a simple garden. I mean,
They do donate
They
the
do.
food to.
And
So
then,
maybe we have the resource and we just need to promote it.
I mean, we have a couple, but that's not to say that you couldn't do another one, because community gardens are typically the kind of thing where you don't have enough plots for the people that want to use them. And they tend to be primarily used by apartment dwellers or townhome dwellers that don't have any space to do any kind of gardening. There is or was one over by the Peakway and Perry Road, and I don't know if that one says been redeveloped or not, but
thinking about the
Norris
one that-
Park.
Okay. Because the Simple Gardens was moved from
Oh, right. It was
Hughes and 55. They had to move the Hack
That's right.
property.
the Hacks.
That's where it used to be. They had to move that.
It used to be right there.
Yeah.
Smith
So
Farm.
that is one that's been relocated somewhere else. Smith Farm has some, but those are not the type of,
Yeah,
it's not the
No one really
demographic.
uses those,
Right, that's not the demographic.
it was,
because I live there.
unfortunately, when Smith Farm was programmed, I was part of the master subdivision plan with that, we had it all laid out where it would be abundant number of garden areas for the homeowners to work in, and it just got reduced, so unfortunately.
Yeah, there still are a number of them, it's just, they just don't get used, because everyone just uses their own backyards. But
Yes.
like you had mentioned earlier, people who live in apartments or condos, I think it'd be better suited for that.
Even the townhomes there, a lot of them aren't close enough to the bulk of the townhomes in Smith Farm to really get that much use. And although the yards are not very big, they're still more than big enough to handle a couple of 2x2 squares. So this one is the Young Men's, YMCA. I'm not used to seeing it spelled out.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't find a piece of land and we really want to put forth a garden, maybe in lieu of that, we could modify it to where it's more individualistic, and we somehow are able to get resources on an individual family basis. I mean, that's
So we
not
talk-
nearly.
And then who monitors?
nearly as
Raised
efficient.
garden shed.
Then who monitors that? Like I said, you got to set up who's leasing the garden area, who's managing the leasing part.
Well, I don't know that we'd be helping them set it up and have them take it on themselves, and that would be the involvement of the town. That would be it.
I like the idea of more of a community space though, because that does help, like, it builds
Yeah,
community,
yeah.
it brings people together who
It
have a
does.
common interest. Yeah,
I'm thinking about the availability of land. though.
sure.
So with the
Would you be
Simple Gift Community Garden off of Tension, does it look like they have much more land around that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Is it something that we can subsidize that, provide money to them and they could actually expand it into more of a plot-based, hey, if you want to grow your own food, you can do that? Because I don't think that's the way they got it set up currently.
I'm not sure.
I
exactly
think
how
it's more
set up.
y'all come in and, help tend the garden and we're going to give out the food.
That's exactly how it is set up.
Yeah.
Everybody comes in, they all work, and then they put out a memo, come pick your radishes or whatever, and everybody can go in and help themselves. So it's not on a plot basis at all.
Everybody comes out and helps. Everybody
Yes.
has access to the food, and whatever is left over gets to be
It goes out to the local community.
Interfaith Food Shuttle, right?
Pardon me?
Doesn't it go to
Western
Interfaith
Wake or
Food
something
Shuttle
like
or Western Wake or something like that, right?
I think it goes to Western Wake,
Okay.
but I'm not sure. I can find that out for you. I can get you in touch with the person that runs it.
So what do you have highlighted there?
So this parcel is the overall parent parcel for the one at the end of Tingen Road. That, just to give you an idea, this
Place right there. in front of the
is
pond.
the community farm.
Oh, okay.
So there is, even if
lots
we're
of space.
ignoring all the area with trees, there is easily 5 to 6 times the amount of space out there.
Okay.
The one thing about that is water, and I don't know what they've done, and we could, as a town, if the town goes in, could help them out if they need a well. They may have already done that, I
They
don't
have a
know.
large pond on site that I think they use for watering the,
And that could be, they were looking for pumps when I talked to them, and maybe it's for the pond, I don't know.
If they are watering through drip system, that's fine, but if they're overhead watering, it's not a sanitary source of water.
so I mean, that's definitely one option. If you guys want, we can try to find you some other plots of land. Churches are a good place to look, especially if you could look at a more consolidated area, so there's just one large community garden, or you could look at several more dispersed ones to make them easier for different groups to get access to.
That's a drive to get to that place. From from.
If you're out west of town, yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely can be. It's about 5-10 minutes from here, but
Now, there is a square plot of land right in front of the Shangri-La Trailer Park home that I haven't figured out why that stays vacant for.
It'll be
I don't
part of the
know how
Apex
long.
Peakway.
it's gonna be part of the Peakway.
It's part of the turn, it's part of the whole
There we
Apex
go,
Peakway system.
finally.
Yep. This piece right here.
Yeah.
Yep. So originally it was just because they couldn't expand Shangri-La any further. Whoops. And the owner just didn't want to do anything else with it. And then this is actually going to be a flyover over the train tracks. And then it's going to have a curving off ramp, off and on ramp
Oh, wow.
coming down this way. And going that way.
I would think that could be used in between until the road is built, because
It certainly
it's gonna
could.
be a forever program. That cost of that thing has gone up to,
It's actually starting construction at the end of the year.
I was gonna say,
Is it really?
they've already
Yeah,
started,
yeah,
they've already started with the overhead relocations and stuff.
Yep, we
that's
finally got the
interesting.
money
That's
for
just
it.
the opposite of stuff that I got about 6 months ago. But that's,
So you might be thinking of the other leg of the Peakway that we have to finish up, which is on, going through the other,
oh, I know what you're talking
Shifley.
about there, near
one is-
Walmart.
That'll never get finished.
yeah, that
Yeah.
one's gonna be a while. They are starting to acquire land on that one though, so they're working on trying to get that closed.
Is all the land around the Tunstall house accounted for?
So some of the land around the Tunstall house is tricky because it's actually under a historic preservation easement, so we have to get approval from CAP to make any kind of changes to that area. Not all of it is though. You know where the retaining wall is as you go up the strollway? Basically from the back of the retaining wall up the hill towards the train tracks is the preservation easement. Everything down the hill from that is not under the preservation easement. So there are some electric utilities that might be challenging to get around to some degree.
Is there buried or
Um,
their aerial?
I keep accidentally flipping, excuse me, 1 second. I don't know how I manage this. I can't do it on demand. All right, pretend this is actually facing north the way it's supposed to. This is the Tunstall house. They are buried. It's this whole section here. There's a retaining wall right here and up
Okay,
is mostly.
so basically the whole yard.
So it wouldn't be a problem to ask though, because gardens and things were historically accurate to the time period that the Tunstall house was built. And this entire area was the whole town campus was a farm when it was given to the town. So it's entirely possible that CAP might agree. Now, they might have like form stipulations, like the types of stuff that can be used as far as the, yeah, see where this weird rectangle is popping up on my screen. On,
That would be a nice location.
We might want
now,
to
the
test
Tunstall
this
House is planned to be renovated, and that renovation is supposedly going to start in the next couple of years. I've heard that many times in my 10 years here, so I'm not 100% certain if that's true, but I have been hearing that it's closer and closer. So
In terms of
it might not be a
interior?
permanent location, or it might be permanent, but say more towards the wood line, as opposed to, because they're planning to renovate the Tunstall.
Shelley, can you pull up the Olive Farm Road and Hemi Olive Road? There's part of that town property, future park property on Olive Farm Road.
Yeah, the location's amazing.
Is that one home that's actually owned by the town of Apex? So right off Olive Farm Road, Hemi Olive, the part of that, there's one home in particular where there's a pond behind it. There's an open area there that,
This one, and
I'm
again,
giving
I'm
you my
sorry that I
props.
can't seem to
I've got it right here too. You can take a look at it.
figure it out.
It's east of that little lake. There's a farmhouse there. Suspect he was on a well.
yeah, so right there in the back of that where the tree line is, that's an existing pond with a gazebo coming out. But both of those homes right there are in the Apex parcel. That's owned by Apex. So there is an open area there that, even if it is a temporary location for something like this, it's on property that Apex owns. And then whenever the plans come through for the permanent layout for the whole site, then, maybe we ask for it to be incorporated into the overall site plan. But that is a location away from it's away from Tingen and Old One, but it does give you another corridor to open up for an area.
Patrick, I guess I missed it. Are you saying that the parcel that's at the intersection of Hemi Olive Road and Olive Farm Road, that is owned by the town too?
No, sir, it's
Okay,
just, it's the
it's
two
the one that's
homes.
south. Okay,
Right, that one's not owned by Apex.
that is not, it's the one south, it's that one. Oops.
That one, well, both of the ones to the south are. The town has purchased both of those pieces of property as well as the larger parcel just to the west. And then Lennar as a part of the retreat at Friendship. Sorry, not Lennar. I know.
I know
said
you
it.
keep trying to, I know you keep trying to put me with that group, and I'm not there anymore. Sorry. So yeah, Emma Holmes
is-
dedicated that property to Town Apex for
Yeah, so
Parks and Rec.
This chunk right here.
Shelley, if we need to vote in support of this idea, I have given my proxy to Suzanne.
Okay.
The same with the tree nursery. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I would need some direction from you all, what you would like me to bring back to you. And I can give you a whole bunch of information if you want to. You don't have to narrow it down too much right now, but
Then we have
So
to come
let's
up with
go ahead
pricing
and
and all that kind of stuff.
And vote that is there a motion that we do support this initiative and moving it forward as one of our activities?
Yes.
Jason?
Second.
Okay, and Jerry second. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, and Jerry, do you want to spearhead?
Sure.
In working with Shelley? And then, is anybody else interested in working with Jerry and Shelley? Okay, well, if you do it anytime, just let me know, shoot me an email. I would be interested as well.
I'll support, but at a lower level. One quick thing, Megan was supposed to be looking at the Tunstall House as a community garden. I don't know what she did there. There might be information about that.
it might be easier for me to start fresh at this point.
I
don't have
suspect you're probably
access to
right.
her emails, and it's been,
Yeah,
what, a couple of years now almost?
yeah, I just thought she might have left something. But it makes all the sense in the world to make that a garden.
John, I can't keep track of time at this point. You're lucky I make it to these meetings.
It gets worse.
Don't tell me that. I'm already bad enough. I know
Okay,
that things
so,
happen in certain months. I don't know how long it's been since that month.
so in summary, Shelley and Anjiri will work on this, and then if you all could plan on updating the board regularly, that would be amazing. Okay, so with that, we're gonna move on to
Okay.
the tree nursery proposal. I'm gonna give Mr. Jensen the floor.
Okay, where is it? Okay, I looked at tree cap and I talked to a few people, and tree cap is providing trees, but it's expensive the way it's being done, kind of, because the concern was that if you provide somebody a tree, they might stick it in their garage, and that's the end of the tree. So it comes out to about, I think, $700 a tree to plant them in. So I thought, well, maybe we can grow our own trees and produce them for $20 or $30. If you put them out to people, then if they trash half of them, you're still way ahead. That was kind of the thought of this thing to get it started. And I was looking at different places with Philip Barnes, and Firehouse 2 looks good. By the way, it could be a community garden on one side too. I don't want to give up any land, but Firehouse 2 looked pretty good because there's water and there's power there. And I mentioned this on the write-up. There's people there all the time. I did go out there and take a look at what the water situation was, and the parcel to the north is easy water, but Wake County may be looking at that for an EMS. So that might not be a possibility. And then I know I'm getting too much into the weeds. The other side, we'd have to run the water over the top of the facility and down. It can be done with a hose. For what water? At any rate, I was just hoping. There was one other thing that's going on. There is a company. It's Leaf and Tree, and they have a
Leaf and limb.
Are
Leaf
you
and
aware of
limb.
them?
Leaf and limb.
Leaf and limb.
Leaf and limb. I'm sorry, not leaf and tree. I got too much into it. And they're doing something like this in Raleigh, except that I think they're giving the trees away much smaller. And I think Cary might be involved with them. I know Cary has given away small trees to people. They come up and they pick up their trees, and that's kind of what this would be. But
So is tree cap, because I thought with tree cap in those trees, is that the program where you have to apply?
I think
yeah, you apply. They apply, and I think with Cary they apply too. I kind of gathered that.
So this would be sort of like changing that and just
Well,
giving it away as a free-for-all, or what do you envision?
I would think you just follow what Cary does and have people apply, and except with tree cap you get one tree. I would say you can give 4 or 5 trees to people if they want them, because it's inexpensive and and we're all looking for getting better canopy and more canopy. So and I think Cary gives them away, and I think just on Arbor Day or something like that. If it's at the firehouse or something, we could give them away every other month or something. Within reason, because obviously you're not going to plant a tree in the middle of summer. So it'd have to be probably in the first part of the year. But that's a lot of detail. I think also the program probably could be funded out of tree cap. I'm not sure. I wanted to talk with them, but their next meeting is in August. So I didn't get to talk with them, but they had a budget, I think, or at least I saw it looked like $100,000.
that might be the entire budget for Plant the Peak, and that's more administratively run than it is run
Okay.
by Tree Cap as such.
Okay.
Now, Philip Barnes is the one who administers that,
Mhm.
and he does work as the staff representative with Tree Cap, but I don't know that the two are necessarily the same thing, is all that I want to point out. Plant the Peak was created specifically because we did want to encourage giving trees away, but we also wanted to make sure they got planted correctly and they weren't planted on top of utilities or under electric easements and things of that nature. I was kind of ancillarily involved in that, and one of the reasons why it does cost so much is because we get those trees directly from, I believe, Leaf and Limb. We may use a different vendor now. And they actually, as a part of the application, you have to show where you want it planted, and we double check to make sure that it's not conflicting with any utilities or in a site triangle easement, for example, or things like, or planted too close to someone's house, things that will impact the long-term viability of the tree. We also make sure that, you know, if a tree needs full sun, it's not being planted in the shade. If it needs full shade, that it's not being stuck in the scorching sun. And there are limits on when the trees are planted. And we've actually had really impressive success on the viability of them and how many of them actually survive after a couple of years. I can try to see if I can find that data for you, sir.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, part of the cost is that the tree and limb or whatever, whoever is doing it actually guarantees, don't they, that the thing will last for 3 years or something like that, or they're responsible in some manner.
That might
I don't
be the
know.
case. I'm not
Maybe
sure,
not.
though.
But
Maybe.
I guess I know you don't want people to plant them here and there, but if they're inexpensive enough and if you give people directions on how to plant them, I know when I first got here, I got a tree and planted it on my side yard, and I didn't have any directions, but I knew damn well I better not put them over my utility line and things like that. So I think if people got directions, and it's a small tree, it's not, you're not digging a huge hole, that would be a way to go with this.
So would this be
And-
sort of to supplement that effort?
I would look at it as a supplement because this isn't going to be that expensive to get going, I don't think. Well, I don't know, because I looked at the $100,000 and maybe only $10,000 of that goes to the trees. I don't know. But I did talk to Philip, and he felt that this would be a good way to go, Philip Barnes, as a more expensive route. But we don't have to, it can go in parallel with that. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
Certainly is the beginning.
okay. Is there support to move this initiative forward with Mr. Jensen leading?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I second.
Second, okay. All in
Thank you.
favor?
Thank you very much.
Opposed? Okay, all right. Carry on, you'll
We'll
keep
get it going.
updating us. Does anybody else wish to work with Mr. Jensen directly, or has he got a good grip on it?
I'm not a good person to work with.
Okay. Well, then you'll plan
You
on.
can ask my wife.
Yeah, you will keep us updated as
Okay.
well on your progress. Thank you so much, both of you. That brings us to open discussion. John, did you have an open discussion item?
Yeah, I have one item. It's sort of picky. I was looking at our website, and I noticed that the current agenda posted on our website is the January 2024 agenda. I also noticed that there have been no minutes posted since the July 2023 meeting. Is there a way to get that more current?
My understanding is that the town clerk's office has been kind of redoing how they do these, and that they're in the process of finishing some things up, and then they will be uploading a significant chunk of those to the town's website. But they were trying to kind of consolidate several things and several different projects at one time, and that's why there's been a delay. I think somebody might have mentioned something about new software. I'm not 100% certain. It won't affect how you guys get it, but it would affect how they put it up there.
Right.
I don't have a lot of details about that, though. I just remember getting a very basic overview, but I will bring it up to them.
Any kind of a timeline?
I don't know. I will ask. You can always, anybody can always email planning or the town clerk's office to get copies of any of the minutes. I do have access to them.
I'm not thinking of me.
But I completely
mean,
understand where you're
people-
coming from.
People logging in to the website and.
They
Look it
don't
on
think,
there.
yep, based on that, they don't think that we've had meetings since January.
Yeah.
Um,
And haven't got any minutes since July.
yeah, you're right.
One additional thing, this is from last meeting. Patrick, I believe you were gonna reach out to somebody
Yeah.
about the
I
recycling.
wrote that down right here to talk about it. So I did reach out to Angela with Parks and Rec, and I did look at the trash cans, recycle bins over at Pleasant Park, and the cans they're all black, but one has a hole this big and one has a hole this big. Smaller hole is for recycling, the larger hole is for trash. You would think the recycling bin would be blue and with a smaller hole, and then the other can would be black, but there is inside the soccer field, which ironically is you're not allowed to have anything other than water on the fields, there is a trash can, black, and a blue trash can for recycling, or recycling can, but and then it's also even here at the town hall, there's no recycle can out front. There's trash cans on either side of the door, but doesn't give you an option for anything recycled in front. But so Apex Parks and Rec has their own sign department, not affiliated with the street signs, but with their own signage internally. And they are actually working on putting little placards on the cans. I spoke to them about it on a walkthrough we had a couple weeks ago. But they are in the process of looking at doing something like that to help out the distinguishing.
Seagroves Farms Park does have blue recycling.
Where's that?
Seagroves Farm,
Yeah.
little tiny.
Pleasant. Well, I'm talking about Pleasant Park.
I know, but
Oh.
they're different apparently depending on the park.
Yeah, like I said, it's the they had the blue ones on inside the field, but then outside it just had a one lid was a small hole and the other lid was a bigger hole, and that was the distinguishing, in between recycling and trash.
So it sounds like that they are aware of it and they do have a plan going forward to help
Okay.
address it.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you
Did
so
they
much.
give you a timeline? This has been forever actually coming up. It really has.
Yeah. So no timeline was given, and honestly, I wouldn't expect them to give a timeline on that. I said I think it's
It's a top priority, particularly.
But if it's already at another park, they can't just switch them out?
Well, the ones that are at Pleasant Park are larger. I mean, I think they're actually bolted to the concrete slab. Like I said, they're powder coated,
They've got the slip-in liner,
liners inside of them. Yeah.
plastic liner.
So it's like they're not straight up freestanding, round and this tall. These are big container that has a strap in inside of it.
Okay, they went cheap on at Seagroves Farm then.
Probably a long time ago,
That's what it
John.
sounds like.
Well, and the trouble with Seagroves Farm is they don't have a sign up either. I mean, it's blue.
It's blue and it's got a recycle signal on it, emblem on it.
More than the other one.
Okay. But to me,
I mean, it could be, and they've got several over there.
I would think that there should be a sign that says recycle bin or something,
Other than just the logo, yeah.
other than just the little thing there.
I mean, logo should be enough, but again, it's it's kind of like talking about you planting the tree beside your home that you know better than to put it on top of a sewer lateral. But
Yeah.
Not everybody.
that's a large assumption that others are going to take that in consideration.
A lot of people don't even know where their utility lines are on their property.
I knew where mine were because I put my shovel into it.
So it sounds like we as a board would like to encourage Parks and Rec to sign up the different recycling and trash cans to encourage that.
They're working on it, yes.
And put as more trash cans, recycling bins out if possible.
Is there a good way to encourage them to put a higher priority on this? What I'm wondering.
Volunteer your time.
I was saying, you volunteer your time and,
Coordinate
but,
community groups to volunteer their time or
but Parks and Rec wouldn't be affiliated with putting one out in front of the town hall though.
No.
I mean, it's,
so Public Works would be the one to do that, and that we can definitely work on. We've had that conversation internally once or twice. Heather Cashwell was going to be working on that very soon, but unfortunately she took a different position elsewhere and is no longer with the town, and they're working on filling her position now. She was the operations manager, I think, is what. So
Baby steps. We'll get there.
And I'll tell you honestly, I tried doing this at least 10 years ago with the Parks and Rec people, and it was difficult then. It was because they don't have a budget for it at that time. That's what they
I
told
was say,
me.
yeah, the funds have got to be set aside for it, and then, yeah, so it's,
So how hard would it be just to cut out a stencil and get a can of spray paint? And just,
are you volunteering?
volunteering your time and then not get arrested for.
It'd be like
Well, we
guerrilla.
notify them first.
Spray
that
painting.
we're doing it.
do it,
I mean, it would be like guerrilla gardening, only it's guerrilla labeling.
Yeah. It's like eco graffiti.
The thing is, you can get the signs on the internet. I'll even take a look up and see what they are. This isn't a big project.
Well,
Except to
I mean,
get it
I don't
done.
know if it would be appropriate, but I think the EAB does have some funds left over. We pulled some aside from our,
Well, it depends.
It's not in the big grand scheme of things, but when it gets down to that, it's just another
Another thing.
thing on the list that has to be done, needs to be done, so.
The problem is that we all have so many large priorities that getting to our smaller priorities is very challenging.
I would think this
And-
time of the year is not a good time of the year to be tacking on stuff for Parks and Rec.
Probably not, but I'm just making a guess there. But if you offered time or solutions, I do think that they have just filled a volunteer coordinator position. So if people wanted to offer that up as an option and, maybe coordinate church groups or family groups or whatever to do something, then that might help to help with some of the lift on some of these smaller projects. So that's a thought.
okay, that's a good thought.
My personal viewpoint is, and I have a lot of them, that Parks and Rec is understaffed in some respects. If you look at the maintenance on the parks, they're losing to rot some of the planks and stuff like that. That if they only had more maintenance capability, it would probably save money in the long term. Right? I was out at J.C. Park and the fascia around that one thing was wood. The paint had gone, and they just don't have, apparently they don't have the funds to keep the maintenance up in some of this stuff. I don't know
I
whether.
do like the idea of like, if there are small things that we could help with, if they did have the signs, if it was pretty straightforward and, there was a coordinator who could make sure it was done right, then that might be a good activity to take on. Okay, is there anything else for open discussion?
One more real quick, I'm sorry.
Floor is yours.
The discussion we were having with this last guy about the clover lawns, thought came to mind that should we come up with approved species that could go in a lawn, and then that way we'd have a suggestion or, to say, hey, all the lawns need to be biodiverse with this select group of species.
So, like you're saying, if a homeowner wanted a non-turf lawn,
Right.
or if the community was to allow non-turf lawns, that's what it would look like, this
Right.
species of plants.
Because I can see, us saying, hey, we need to have a biodiverse lawn. You cannot say it has to be, these grass species, Bermuda, blah, blah, blah. then if we say that, they're gonna go, oh, well, it's gonna be full of weeds. Well, then we can come back and say, no, we have approved, selection of seeds that you should be using in there. And this will help increase the biodiversity of the town. Because, just like the grass in there is going to reduce the amount of.
I don't think you can do it on individual lots, because it's owned by the individual property owner, person that sells, then they can come back and put in what they want. I think you have to limit it to common area only, because it's managed by a management company or HOA or whatever, may not have an HOA. But again, when you start getting into individual, it's just like, we talked about particular lights on the outside of the homes. As soon as you can't do that either, because you can't say you use a certain kind of bulb, because, hey, they just happen to have a bulb in their house, that's what they're going to use for, because their light went outside, it went out, now they're going to just replace it with something because it's working.
Well, I thought that
Could
too,
have
until,
suggested plant, had suggested species, or seed mixes that could be installed, though. They wouldn't be required, but if somebody says, hey, I want to do this in my yard,
Well,
you point me to something.
or we could at least have it so that developers will encourage the HOAs not to restrict
yes.
So
to
that is
just
something
grasses,
could
that
be
they
done.
can also be using this seed.
So the covenants can't say.
Covenants can't be restricted.
Yeah,
You could do that.
yeah.
Who seeds lawns anymore at new build?
That's true.
What's that?
Everybody saw it.
I was everybody put sod down, because I mean, if you put seed and straw down, the wind blows. Well, now it's all in the gutter and in the storm pond, and so like I just
Well,
I don't know of
so-
anybody that's put seed and straw down on a yard, even a backyard, in 15 years probably.
So then I wonder if any of the turf companies grow some more of these biodiverse species, so you have more clover in there, and you have more other things other
But you'd
than
have to
just
have enough
grass.
people to say they want to do that, to turn a acre of their field into a biodiverse style of, and then you're like, well, I'm not going to turn an acre into that and then only have 2 buyers that want
So how
a pallet a year.
Well, so, I mean, so the builder could put in turf, but you just don't want to prohibit a subsequent
don't wanna-
homeowner from
right.
saying, I don't want turf anymore, I guess is the point.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I personally think we stay out of the individual lots. I think we concentrate on common areas and what could be managed by the management company or somebody versus individual lots.
Oh, there's 2 different requirements. So we can require the developer to say, hey, in those common areas, you definitely need to put in biodiversity. But
We can
then-
suggest, we can't.
Well, of course, suggest, but also have a suggestion in there where we would say, hey, the HOA is not permitted to restrict the number of species going in alone. And that would be another suggestion. So we're not requesting that the developer put on the individual lots specific species within the lawns. We're just saying when you talk to the covenants of the HOA, you can't have that in there.
We do have other zoning conditions that limit restrictions that the HOA covenants can have on them. One of them is that they can't prohibit, and this doesn't go on every project, obviously, but that they can't prohibit the construction of accessory dwelling units within subdivisions. So it's a similar type of thing that could be done. And it's not a requirement that anybody build an ADU, it's just saying that if you want to. Now, you are gonna get that, or, well, you guys won't, I will get that phone call from the neighbor next door that says his lawn weeds are getting all in my beautiful fescue. But, I get those emails anyway, so.
so Jason, are you suggesting that we just sort of keep that in mind, or did you want to write something up and propose that we add that to modify the list of suggestions?
Let me work on it and
Okay.
see if I can come up with something. In the meantime, let's keep it in mind.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Both.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Anything else?
Just real quick, I wanted to say I just put on the screen the contact information for the town's volunteer coordinator. Since my screen's being shared right now, it'll be on the YouTube video as well. So if you don't have a chance to get it now, you can definitely take a look at it later. If you know people who want to help out or have thoughts about stuff, have them give her a call.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
I
so
will
much
warn
for
her
that.
tomorrow morning.
Okay. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
John, is there a second?
A second.
Mason, anybody would like to discuss that? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you all for your time tonight. Excellent discussions.
Bill, did you want this back, sir? Bill, did you want this back?